to the David the Dog Trainer podcast. Episode 26, I believe.
Yep.
Josh, you've been extremely hard at work uploading all those podcasts. You have uploaded 24 podcasts between the 1 hour and 3 hour mark to a YouTube channel in like 6 days.
Yes.
It's impressive. I did not think it was going to be that fast. For all of you that don't know, we said last time we moved the David the Dog Trainer podcast from our YouTube channel, the David the Dog Trainer podcast YouTube channel, to the Miracle Canine Training YouTube channel. And I kind of dropped that on Josh last week that we needed to get that done. And he proceeded to get it done in 1 week's time. I am very impressed. I'll tell you, like 2 days after, you were already like through like 6, 7, something like that. And like Paige was looking at it and she was just like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Is he just like sitting at home in front of his computer, just like upload?
Pretty much. Like we would watch TV. I'd have the laptop here and I would just, we're like watching and I'd be like, oh, okay. And then it was really nice because I would have the Miracle YouTube here and then the David the Dog Trainer YouTube on
Would
the
you have
next
a little double
tab.
screen situation or what?
Just
tabs.
tabs. And then I tab over and just copy and then paste like all the words so I didn't have to reword it, but I had to download all the thumbnails again because I had deleted the thumbnails. So that took a little bit. And then I had to, there's one podcast, there's like podcast 2 or 3. I could not find it anywhere on my computer, so I had to download that one. That took forever. That
Downloading them takes a while.
Yeah.
Paige did that the first time she did clips.
Yeah.
Like before we started doing the clips, and she downloaded the entire episode. I think she said it took her like most of the day.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like the download speed from YouTube is terrible. But
that's crazy. You could even do that though. That
it
you
is
could just download a YouTube video.
Yeah, I mean that's really cool though because then technically you don't have to keep your backlog, but
Yeah.
you should anyway.
But if YouTube crashes, you're screwed.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna. I need to buy it. I'm gonna buy a separate hard drive
Just for that.
for Miracle, or for this podcast because I'm starting to hit my breaking point on storage. But yeah, it's been a fun couple days because
Almost done though.
yes, almost done. Now we just the clips.
Luckily, the clips is only for what the last like 7 episodes, something like that. 7 or 8 episodes.
7 or 8 episodes, yeah. And I mean, yeah, they're significantly less.
Yeah.
So I'm by the end of this week, we'll have everything switched over.
Very exciting. I'm pumped on it. I was telling you earlier, I think we're going to be starting to get a lot of traction on this. So we've even had a couple clients reach out recently that have come in and say, you know, they recently saw it pop up and stuff. So yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's going to be able to provide a little more for everybody. Hope you like it.
Instead of building from the ground up, we have a platform much
Nice
higher.
foundation.
Yes, a nice 1,300
Solid
subscriber foundation.
Dope. What else is new?
All right. Yesterday, I went to Mayhall's.
Oh, yeah. I saw Corey. He told me you were there.
Yeah.
So you're taking those Parkies photos.
Yeah, Parky's pop-ups, but it's not really a pop-up anymore because I think he's going to be cooking there.
Oh, yeah?
Now, yeah. But, yeah, we took some photos for their Friday.
Speaking of Friday, those fries look pretty good.
Yeah, dude.
Saw that one picture of just the burger on the mountain of French fries. I was like, oh, God damn.
Dude, I have to give it to him, dude. He makes a good smash burger. And then those fries, the Ohio pie, like, collab they did. Yeah.
Like the actual pizza they did together?
Well,
Because I saw they did a collaboration pizza.
Yeah, they did a fry, like, poutine thing, too.
Really?
Yeah, so they brought their sauce, their pepperoni, and all this, and then they put it on a mound of fries.
That sounds great.
It was actually really good.
Yeah.
And then he makes, like, this buffalo chicken one. That one was so good. Man. Yeah. And then he make, like, a hot chicken, too.
I'll tell you, see, this is why I can't go to places like that.
I know.
It's because every single thing you said sounds fucking phenomenal, but also sounds like it'll clog my arteries and make me 700 pounds.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
I mean, it just sounds like
Yeah.
it's just like this is like 1,700 calories for this French fry.
dude, it was pretty disgusting because Corey was there having a meeting, and Denny was there, and so it was all meat, and Corey's vegan right now, and
Dennis just smashing all of
yeah,
it.
it was just me and Dennis just smashing this food. We were looking like barbarians because we didn't like have any utensils, so we're just like grabbing food. It was so gross. We felt so disgusted with ourselves.
Manhandling it.
Yeah, we were, and but yeah, I was really excited about doing that because I went and did their drinks a couple weeks ago, and like his food, pretty banging. I'm not gonna lie. So
I've never had it before. When he was cooking at the Foundry, I never really got around to trying it, but I heard it's phenomenal. So I'm excited to try it next time I go there.
And then tomorrow I have to go to, if you guys have seen it, the Haunted House Cafe.
Oh, tomorrow you're going there.
Yeah, I have an actual meeting set up.
Nice.
So, yeah, I had a friend that did the murals there that connected us, and then he was like, "Oh, thanks," and then I said something, and then he never said anything back, and then he got all this hype, like on. I
saw you got a lot of people posting about
Cleveland.com,
Cleveland.com, yep.
Yeah, and so I texted him again. I was like, "Hey, so you're getting a lot of hype. We should do this now because you want to show everyone that has seen your page what you're going to give them."
Well, because that's the thing, honestly. Like, I saw a while ago some sort of like inside photo of the place that was going around somewhere.
Yeah.
But I didn't really see anything else ever. And they're posting all this stuff, and nobody knows what the hell it's going to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if they can get some dope inside photos of that place.
Yeah, exactly.
That's going to really, I mean, everybody's going to want to go there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a really interesting concept.
Yeah.
Like an actual haunted house bar.
Yeah.
Where it looks like a haunted house inside.
Yeah. I don't know if did I talk about it last time, but he has a place in Columbus called Super Chef.
Really?
Yeah, and it's like a superhero theme.
Oh, yeah. I know that place.
Yeah, it's the same guy.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I think he posted one thing, and it was kind of the similar vibe. You know, it was like a waffle sandwich.
Yeah.
So I think he's trying to do a breakfast brunch, maybe lunch. I don't think he's trying to do dinner, which is perfect because that place fucking dies during dinner time.
Yeah, it's just such a strange location.
Yeah.
You know? That Cedar Lee district is just so hit or miss, man.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is like where they're at too. Like
it's off the beaten path of Cedar Lee also, which I think is the issue.
Yeah, that's the big problem. And see, this has happened 2 times I know in Melt's history.
Yeah.
Is that they missed the mark completely. Like
yeah.
There's Cedar Road and you build freaking 2 blocks away from it.
Yeah.
And then in Menor, they could have been in downtown Willoughby.
That's what she said.
But they decided, And it's like, I understand the rent was probably more, but
foot traffic a lot higher.
Foot traffic, like, I mean, you were, especially when they opened the Cleveland Heights one, they were doing 3-hour waits every day.
Yeah.
Like, you were making good money, man.
Sure.
So, I don't know, but I'm glad for this. I think the breakfast lunch thing is the way to go.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's what that's something I noticed a lot of restaurants do, or a lot of businesses in general do during like COVID and stuff, is they adjusted those hours to like, we don't have to be open all day long.
Yeah.
You know, because we don't need, then that cuts so much overhead, right? By just hitting those kind of markets that you need and keeping a little bit in demand. I mean, it pissed me off with some restaurants when like Il Rione, for example, right? They did limited pies every day and they only did it for like 3 hours a day, right?
Yeah.
And they would sell out every day, right? But here's the thing. They made it so that they couldn't lose money, right? So
exactly.
you know, you kept some demand, you kept people trying to come to you, and you lowered your risk like exponentially at that point.
That's a lot of restaurants have that problem. They think they have to be we open at 11 till 11 to 11 or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
And then it's like, if you're not doing a lot of lunch, cut it out. I mean, that's what they try to do to save the Cleveland Heights Melt. Originally, we went from opening at 10 to opening up at 4, which was actually the worst thing they could have done in that location because we were busier during lunchtime than we were at dinner.
Yeah.
But I digress. I think knowing it's just like any business, like we've said before, you got to look at where you're making your money and where you're not. And,
Yeah.
Trim the fat a little bit. But anyway, other than that, next week I am going to Aaliyah again. Next Wednesday. They got a new menu coming out for the summer. So
Everybody's got these new menus, man.
I know.
That's the new thing right now is how many menus can we come up with?
Yeah.
I like it.
Especially his.
I like it.
I'm really excited because he wanted to do it this week, but whatever is on his menu is like really rare and like exquisite. So
seasonal.
yeah, he's like, it's been really hard to get it in from the supply chain. And he's like, but
Is it chicken wings?
dude, those chicken wings are banging. All right.
Well, I was just saying, there's a chicken wing shortage. I don't know if you're familiar or not.
Is there?
Yeah.
A
It's a big
chicken
thing.
wing
Chicken wing shortage. Specifically the wings.
Wow.
I don't know. Dang.
Dang.
It was going around the news. Chicken
Yeah.
wings shortage. It is a shortage of everything.
Yeah, but
Shortage of everything. I heard that there was also yesterday, somebody told me there's a Dr. Pepper shortage as well because the company that makes Dr. Pepper, they had a Pepsi shortage for a while, and now that there's no longer a Pepsi shortage, they're trying to make as much of that as possible and no longer making Dr. Pepper because of it. So, shortages of everything, dude. Man. Weird time. Strange time for food.
yeah, the worst one though. Have you seen like the microchip thing right now?
You mean the one that was put in us with our vaccines?
No, not that one. No, there's like a huge shortage on like the I guess minerals or materials that they use to make microchips. So like, and it's like a perfect storm because like everyone wants to build PCs or whatever, and everyone's doing that Bitcoin mining bullshit.
Gotta mine those coins.
Yeah, but so like all these Bitcoin miner guys bought like everything that was in stock, and they're trying to restock everything. And this goes for like phones too, I guess, phone microchips, and then microchips that go in cars. My friend, her husband works at one of the GMC plants, and they have like 100,000 cars that they built that are just in their city, just sitting there because they can't sell them
chips?
because they don't have the
Strange.
so it's a wild time. I guess
It is.
COVID really did mess us up a little bit, when you're thinking about it.
Messing up our products.
Yeah.
Cool. Very good. Very good. Nothing new here. We are plugging away as always, staying extremely busy. Boarding boom is in full swing still. I don't know what's going on, but we got every weekend just freaking jam-packed with boarding.
Yeah.
Lessons are popping. Boarding trains are popping. Everything's going good. So we got some plans here in the next 4 weeks here that we're going to be getting cruising and getting announced to everybody here soon, which is exciting.
You got 4th of July coming up, too. I bet you're going to be really
4th of July. Going to be very swamped for that.
Oh, yeah.
Probably going to be doing a little bit of a 4th of July. You know what we should do today? We're going to talk about fireworks a little bit today.
We should.
I didn't even think about that. Let me get my notebook out here.
Yeah, because
Get my notebook.
when's the 4th on
Sunday.
Sunday, right? Yeah.
Fireworks and dogs. I didn't even get to put any thoughts together on it.
Yeah. Wow. I can't believe it's already July.
Isn't it crazy?
It's crazy.
July 1st today. Cool. So we're going to start getting into the show here. So we got a couple things. So we're going to talk about fireworks a little bit here. We got a couple little questions. First and foremost, though, I want to talk about something that is something that happens all the time in world of YouTube.
Okay.
Trolls. Why is YouTube the platform? It is like the single most heavy trolled platform out there.
Yeah.
I think
Everybody
It's
says
like
it.
it's like there's just people out there just sitting at their computer on YouTube, just waiting for videos to pop up so they could just put their 2 cents in.
Yeah.
Why does everybody want to put their 2 cents in on YouTube exclusively? I don't understand.
I don't know. I mean, everybody says that. Even Joe Rogan was like,
Dude, it's
the
crazy.
worst comment section is YouTube.
I don't understand. You know.
I don't know. And
Maybe because it's a more public page, like your shit can
Yeah.
just pop up on anybody's feed, like just based
That's
on their
true.
search results. Where
That's
like
true.
Instagram, Facebook, and stuff like that. Actually, it does kind of make sense. Where I think YouTube, a lot of the people that are going to see your stuff don't actually know who you are, don't actually follow you.
Yeah.
So there's going to be shit popping up in their feed all the time that they don't necessarily agree with or like. So they're just going to put their 2 cents in on it because everybody's got to put their 2 cents on social media.
Yeah.
That's what people do.
I will say, when I was uploading things and then I saw like the comment area. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
It was like, nice comment, nice comment, nice comment. And then just like,
and then just, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
I hate you so much.
I was like, Jesus Christ.
So we got a comment yesterday. This was on our video we posted a while ago. Highly aggressive foster terrier won't allow putting muzzle on.
Dude, that one's blown up, by the way.
Has it?
Yeah, I feel like it.
Let me see how many views we got on this.
There's like so many comments on it.
Let's see. Oh Jesus, yeah, 5,500 views.
Hell yeah!
All right. Anyways, comment here. Oh yeah, 41 comments too. Where's it at? I can't go through all of these. Here we go. All right. So Bree Lebreese commented.
Bree Lebreese.
I'm a little confused on this video. The dog is very clearly stressed, and her respiratory effort has increased significantly. Shouldn't desensitization occur in small increments over a long period of time instead of continuing to agitate a stressed dog? First off, I love when people word this stuff in such a proper way. Yeah. Shouldn't it be done this? Really, shouldn't it be?
Yeah.
I don't the respiratory, what did they say? The respiratory effort.
Yeah.
The respiratory effort. Oh, you mean that she's panting more? Yeah. Is that what you're talking about? The respiratory effort?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me give you guys some context on this. This is what pisses me off about this kind of stuff. Because nobody has context, right? Because I have 2 videos in particular that I know have caught a lot of flack over this kind of stuff, right? First video is this video. Let me give you the backstory on this, right? So Betty. This video is about a dog named Betty, owned by a very fantastic foster in the area, right? So Betty, we just finished a board and train with maybe a couple weeks ago, before and after video coming soon. Actually probably coming today. I believe we finished it yesterday.
Hell yeah.
So anyways, so Betty is a extremely touch sensitive terrier, right? And basically when they found her, she was in really bad shape, right? And she got basically a unicorn foster, right? This dog realistically would have been put down if anybody else had gotten her, right? She was so touch sensitive that if you went even near her to touch her in a way that she did not like, she was coming at you. And she was savage about it, man. This dog was not playing games. Yeah. She was freaking the F out. She was biting everything in sight. You try to stick a muzzle even near her, game over. They couldn't get her to the vet. They couldn't groom her over this kind of stuff unless she was sedated. And when you have a dog that's that bad with stuff, your options are 2 things, right? 1, euthanization.
Yep.
2, you figure out a way immediately to be able to start handling the dog in a way you need to so that you can start working on the issue later on.
Yeah.
Right? The problem with all these comments on this of people like, you should be doing the desensitization over a long period of time and this and that. It's like, okay, cool. So what you're saying is I should allow the dog to bite me for months and 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 years and years and years, because with this dog, you're not going to desensitize your way out of this one, right?
Yeah.
Until I'm able to start working on the problem, right? That's not realistic.
Yeah.
Right? And the problem is most of these cases, and this is the dog training world, right? Sure. In a perfect world, we would love to have 9 years with every dog we work with so we could work through all these issues in such a specific and caring way. And we could be fair about stuff and this and that. But we hit a certain point with some of these difficult dogs we work with when we do behavioral modification work where stuff's got to happen fast, right? We have to be able to get this dog to the groomer. We have to be able to get this dog to the vet. We have to be able to handle this dog so we can administer medication. Because guess what? Sedating the dog every time we need to do those things is extremely dangerous and bad for the dog.
Yeah.
Right? It's also even more evasive because her foster told me that every time they would get her sedated and have her go to the vet, it would take at least 3 days for her to be back to her somewhat normal self because she was all out of it and wonked out over it and stuff like that. And because we were able to break ground and get this dog muzzled, even though it took 45 minutes to do so, the next time we went to go do it, I groomed her myself, and it took me about 15 minutes to do it. And then the next time I did it is when she started her board and train, and it took me about a minute and a half to do it. Yeah. And guess what? After that, to this day, Her owner can get that muzzle over her face, no problem, no biting, no issues. Before and after video coming today.
Boom.
So
Just
here's
wait.
the thing, right? If you work through all of that nonsense, and if you spend the time just saying, guess what? I know you're stressed out. I know your respiratory effort is going to increase a little bit because I'm putting stress on you to get a muzzle on you because I have to be able to do that because you're going to get put down if I don't do it. It's okay because we broke that ground and we showed her, guess what? We're going to have to do this kind of stuff, and you're going to have to learn how to tolerate it a little bit.
Yep.
Does she love it? No.
No.
Is she gradually learning to accept it more and more? Absolutely. Yes. Is she not biting when we go to put the muzzle on anymore? Yes, which means that something we did obviously worked. Now, you could make the argument all day long, well, she's only letting you put the muzzle on because she's scared of you. But guess what she's letting you do? Put the muzzle on her. So I just don't understand. I don't understand how the conversation can go from, oh, that doesn't work, to, oh, that only worked because she's scared of you. It's like, but it worked, right?
Yeah.
We were able to break ground with that, and we were able to make it so we could successfully handle her in ways that we need to.
Yeah.
Right? And guess what we're doing now that she is allowing us to do it? Now we're desensitizing, and now we're counter conditioning. I talk about this a lot because counter conditioning is this big fluff world in the dog training industry right now, where everybody's like, we counter condition this, and we don't correct this, and create a positive association with this, and blah, 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 blah. And it's so frustrating because it's not doing anything to stop the problems, and it's not factoring in the key of all of this, which is that these dogs genetically are scared or fearful or anxious to begin with, and no matter what, you could counter condition all of the things in the world that you want to, but you're going to run into a situation where the dog gets scared, anxious, or fearful, and if you haven't spent the time addressing the root of the problem, which is what the dog does when they get scared, anxious, or fearful, it's always going to represent it at some point, and it's always going to be a problem.
Yep.
The other one that we saw a lot of this kind of stuff with was, do you remember the video from Florida of teaching the foster dog to walk with the pet corrector?
Yep.
That one blew the fuck up.
Yeah.
That one. How many views does that one have? Because that one's got a ton. Teaching foster dog to walk.
Yeah, I saw that one where everyone's like trying to critique you on how you're using the
You're
air.
spraying it too close to the dog.
You're this idiot. He's spraying it on the face.
5,000 views. How many negative comments, though? That's the question. Let's see. Let's see what YouTube World had for us. 20 comments, almost all negative. 34 likes, 31 dislikes. So here's the thing. More people like it than they dislike it, so I'll take it. But that was a big one, too. And again, context is everything with this kind of stuff. I talk about this with newer trainers a lot, where people look at, somebody who gets flack a lot, like, say, Jeff Gelman from Solid Canine Training, where he gets flack for bonking dogs all the time, right? Yeah. And listen, I'll say it all day long. Some of this stuff does not necessarily look pretty, right? There are some techniques and tools and stuff out there that you're like, if you have no context and you just see it, it's like, oh, why did you do that? That's not fair, right? Mm-hmm. But then you start looking into, again, the context of everything else that's been tried with these dogs, the severity of the issues they have, and then the long-lasting results of some of that kind of stuff. And you start to realize then why these things are being done, right? So the foster dog pet corrector video, people didn't like it because basically we had this foster dog completely out of control, completely reactive, and unfortunately, due to the rescue system or shelter system that the dog was in, they were not able to use any training tools. They couldn't use a prong collar. They couldn't use an e-collar. The dog wasn't very food motivated, and the dog was so freaking tuned out, it was unbelievable. Yeah. So guess what we did? We used a pet corrector, the only tool we had at our disposal that the people were allowed to technically use. And what we did is we used that pet corrector to correct the dog every time the dog got ahead of us until we got to a point where the dog was able to walk on a leash. Yeah. Right? And I remember by the end of that session, one of the fosters even looked at like, oh my gosh, this is the first time that I've seen this dog interact with a person like in the way that she's interacting with you. From the standpoint, it was the first time she was watching, she was looking, she was engaging, she was laying down after the session and just like letting that energy out and like chilling.
Yep.
And, you know, before she was like a space cadet, just all over the place, right? Now, again, how long lasting is that going to be? It depends on how consistent the people are with working. And anytime you go to bring a dog back into a shelter system, obviously things are going to kind of go awry a little bit. But we were able to see the success in that moment of if you implement some of these techniques, what can be accomplished, right? And people have a problem with that because it's not done in the way they would prefer that it's done without understanding that, yeah, if we used a prong collar or we used an e-collar or whatever it may be, or we spent the time developing food drive and all these things, that it probably could have been done in a little bit more of a fair manner to the dog.
Yep.
But unfortunately, in some situations, we have what we have, and we have to work with that.
Yeah.
You know? And unfortunately, there's nothing that you can do to change that, right? Like, you know, it's, again, you start getting into situations. There's a dog in a shelter system. This dog is looking for a home, and currently in the way that she's at, she's not going to find one.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So we have to get some headway, and we have to make sure that we have some ability to work through some of these types of issues. And, you know, whatever that is. And you start getting into then the conversation of what is more humane and fair, right? Stopping some of these issues or just euthanizing these dogs,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, that's exactly what was going to happen to that dog. Or if not, she's going to stay in that the foster care system or wherever she was at for her life.
So, you know, long story short, quit trolling, right? Quit trolling. Listen, I like that it gives me good talking points to discuss and everything, but you guys are just idiots. Just stop. That's point number one.
Yeah.
Point number two, with anything that you're seeing in the social media world, in this and that, if you have a problem with something, try your hardest to find the context of that before you judge it too harshly. Understand why some of these things may be being done so that you could further your knowledge.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's all I got for you. That's comment number one. All right. Next, we're going to get into a question I got yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Oh, this is a good one. All right. Question for my own curiosity. Use it for the podcast if you wish. Thank you, I will. Should I give my dog commands, down and okay, when playing fetch or frisbee, or just let it be a fun game? Specifically, she's talking about Tucker. This is Michelle Tansky. She owns Tucker and Nina, who've recently finished board and trains.
Okay.
And killed it. And she killed it. So, good job. Anyways, all right. Should I be giving commands or letting it be a game? So this is a fun one, right? Because the way the question is worded is, if we give commands while we're playing fetch or frisbee or ball or any of those things, that we are no longer letting it be a fun game to begin with, which is not the case.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, any activity we play with our dog, right? Whether it's playing, whether it's using toys, whether it's walks, whether it's this, whether it's that, there are always multiple reasons for doing those things. Reason number one, physical stimulation. Obviously, when a dog is chasing a ball, they are wearing themselves down physically, right? Now, the problem, and I've discussed this a lot of times, is when you're playing those types of games with dogs, it puts them into a very, very, very autopilot, almost predatory state of mind, a very primal instinct of chasing, grabbing, biting, things like that, right? And this is the reason why I think that dogs do these things to begin with, is they're wired as animals to hunt and kill things, right? And you're tapping into that kind of mentality a little bit while you're doing so, right? Now, this is the ongoing conversation amongst trainers of, is that good to biologically fulfill that need, right? And I don't want to necessarily say, no, it's not good to do so, because I think there's a time and a place for it, but we have to make sure at all times that we can control that impulse as well, right?
Yeah.
So that gets into the second purpose of these games, which is creating mental stimulation, right? And practicing impulse control in a heightened state of arousal, right? So if we can get our dog to, at least while they're in this predatory state of mind, right, we can get them to focus and comply and pay attention to us, we are not only engaging them physically, but we're engaging them mentally, and we're doing it in a way that is going to be extremely productive tenfold later on in their life for them, right?
Yep.
So yes, I would absolutely be implementing those types of commands and those types of impulse control into your play. And I would absolutely also get it in your head that it is not making the game any less fun. If anything, it is fulfilling them even more, because what dogs need is mental stimulation to feel satisfied. This is why we see dogs so tired after training sessions with us and so relaxed when they finish their board and trains. It's because that anxiety drips away when we get them to focus in on things, as opposed to just letting them neurotically just go, go, right? So keep that in mind, Michelle Tansky, and implement it into your play. Now, sometimes easier said than done. Sometimes, I recommend if your dog is too ball motivated and you can't even get them to focus in to do anything, start with something really simple. Start with, before you even start the game, making sure that you have control around the ball first, so your dog knows that that toy is yours until you engage the game, right? So that means sometimes I'll put a dog in a down state and I'll just bounce a ball around them for 5 minutes and make them hold that down state and correct them for getting up out of it, right? That could be that I focus on one command and I teach the dog to activate the game by doing that command, and that's the only thing that I focus on, right? That could be an out, that could be a sit, that could be a down, it could be anything you want. And then as you progress, you could make it slightly more complicated, where when I play with Vinny or Vera or any of them, I'll make them do a down, then I'll throw the ball and make them wait in that down, and then release them to go get it, and then make them drop it, and then do different positions and stuff. Now, what I would say is, this is the only truth to the making it less fun part. You want to find the balance of the engaging with the commands and stuff versus the playing the game, right? Because since you're using that ball as your motivation for doing a lot of those things, obviously in addition to some e-collar corrections and stuff, if you get too heavy with the commands and stuff, you start to balance out how reinforcing is this thing, and is it reinforcing enough to get your dog to do like 17 commands in between each throw, right?
Yeah.
So you got to kind of, and that's dog dependent, right? For Vinny, because he's so motivated, I can get away with doing tons and tons and tons of stuff with him in between each throw, and he's going to stay motivated for it. Other dogs, maybe not so much. So start simple, gradually increase from there, and yes, use it as a fantastic training opportunity for your dogs.
It was a good question.
It is a good question. A very simple one, which I like. All right, I think I got one more in here. And then we'll gather some thoughts about fireworks. Where's it at? All right. This one is from Melissa Figgis. Melissa asks, another podcast question. How do you, this is a good one too. How do you determine the level for a firm correction? I want to make sure we're setting a firm standard on certain behaviors, but I also don't want to send Moo into another solar system. Is there a size standard you work off of? Small, medium, large dogs? Is it solely contingent on their standard e-collar levels, etc.? Okay, so basically the question is, how do you determine a firm correction, right? And to answer the question very simply and non-specifically, it is so freaking dog dependent. But no matter what the dog is, I always err on the side of higher rather than lower, right? Because here's the thing. We got to look at two different things we would be correcting for, right? So correction number one would be for non-compliance of known commands. So I ask my dog to down, my dog doesn't down, I give a correction for it. Thing number two is inhibiting unwanted behaviors. So jumping, barking, digging, getting into the trash can, any sort of behavioral thing that has nothing to do with an obedience command, right? And I address both of them similarly, but slightly differently. So as far as the specific way that we implement the corrections, it's going to be pretty specific. It's going to be pretty much the same one way or another. We give our no marker, we give our consequence after, and then we repeat any information we need to if the dog was in a command, or if we're correcting for an unwanted behavior, we just say no and give our correction with the expectation that I don't care what you do as long as you stop doing the thing you're doing right now, right? As far as my use of levels with those two, The corrections for the commands are typically going to be slightly lower depending on the scenario, just because, again, sometimes that's going to be for just flat out blowing me off because they're trying to chase a bird or something. Some of those are going to be just because the dog wasn't listening and paying enough attention to listen to it, but they're not super stimulated or anything. So I'm going to adjust that level based on them. And my rule of thumb for it is as much pressure as we need, but as little as we can get away with, right? Again, still erring on the side of a little bit higher rather than lower. But for general commands, I'm always going to try to assess working level of different situations. So what I mean by that is as you're working through things with your dog and you start noticing, okay, cool. When people are at my house, my dog typically responds to a 60 to 70 for commands. When we're out on our walk, our dog typically responds 40 to 50 for commands. When we're just in the house and it's just us, they typically respond 20 to 30 for commands. I'm going to start making mental notes of all of these things, and I'm going to start using that as just a starting place. Now, it is not a concrete, that is the level for things by any means. It simply is, okay, I'm going to start when I go for a walk, presetting my e-collar at a 40, knowing that it typically starts in this range.
Yep.
Right? If I'm in the house, I'm going to keep my e-collar set at this, knowing that it typically starts at this range, et cetera, et cetera. From there, what I do is I play this game of every time I use the e-collar, internally asking myself a question. I ask myself, did my dog care too much about this, too little about this, or just right? So did it seem like I sent my dog into another solar system and they just let out this big dramatic response to that e-collar correction? I'm going to turn it down a little bit, right? Yep. Did it seem like they didn't care enough about it? They blew it off and kept doing whatever they were doing. I'm going to turn up a little bit. Did it seem like they cared about it? They altered their behavior, but it wasn't this ridiculous over-the-top response. Then I'm going to keep it right where it's at. Yep. And every single time I use it, I'm going to make an adjustment like that. Right? Yeah. So this is when I'm working commands. That's kind of my general rule of thumb with things. Unwanted behaviors, stopping unwanted behaviors. This is the one that most people really struggle with, I think, because a lot of people look at it like just like their dog responds to, lower levels for other things, they're going to use it for that, right?
Yeah.
The goal of stopping an unwanted behavior is to inhibit it, for it to completely go away, right? You don't want to have to correct repeatedly all the time for this thing. So because of that, I'll be honest, there's not really a too high, and this one gets a lot of flack sometimes because listen, with my dogs, I tell everybody when I'm in the house, if I have the e-collars on my dogs, I almost all the time have them default set all the way up, right? And the reason for that is because if one of my dogs decides that today is the day that they're going to try to get into the trash can, or today's the day that they're going to try to jump on my guest that walks in, or chew on the baseboard, whatever, any number of things that I know they very clearly know not to do.
Yeah.
My goal is to make that behavior as uncomfortable as possible for them to do so that they have an active response of choosing the next time not to do it again. Right? And sure, in those situations, maybe 60 would have worked. Maybe 75 would have worked. Maybe something else would have worked. But knowing that I made that more motivating means that there's going to be a less likely chance that I have to do it again. So I always err on the side of that for stopping general behavioral issues. And usually what I'll do is, and we recommend people do this when they take their dogs home from board and trains, for example. Usually what I'll do is I'll tell them, when you first bring your dog into the house when you get home, don't give them any commands or anything. Just let them loose. Have your e-collar set super, super high, typically all the way up, right? And just correct for any of the boundaries you want to set. So if your dog's no longer allowed on furniture, you're going to correct at that level for when they get on furniture. If they're not allowed to jump on people, you're going to correct them for that. If they're not allowed to go in a certain room, you're going to correct them for that. And you set those boundaries immediately so that you could then turn your level down and work your obedience commands in a nice, simple fashion, knowing that that stuff is done and over with.
True.
So it's a hard conversation because a lot of people want to try to go lower, but I always say you're setting for the big things, right? And even with your obedience commands, listen, even though I'll play that up and down game, I still err on the side of high. Like, let's say hypothetically, I'm walking through the park with my dog, and when I'm walking through the park with my dog, for getting out of heel position and sniffing and this and that, they respond to a 30, right? And let's say that one time on my walk, we encountered a deer or we encountered a squirrel or whatever it may be. And in that moment, it took an 80 to get them to respond to my e-collar correction to get back into position. Well, moving forward until I get some headway, I'm going to start default keeping my e-collar set at an 80, knowing that there is a potential that I'm going to see something out of my walk, that it's going to take an 80 to get them back under control for things. And I don't want to have to run into a situation where I lose an opportunity to give a correction for that so I could be done with it. Mm-hmm. So I kind of play those games of always, once I know the dog is really good with this kind of stuff, getting stuff under control, right? I'm working with this dog, Ocho. We posted a video of him the other day. He's typically very sensitive to the e-collar. He works at 10, 15 inside for his basic obedience commands, sometimes 20 outside for other things. Passed a dog the other day, started getting a little reactive, took a 95 to get him under control for it. Guess what? After that 95, he was nice and in check, and he was really good, right?
Yep.
So what does that mean? What does that tell me? Next time when I go to take him to the park, and next time when we go to walk around past other dogs, I'm going to keep the e-collar started at a 95.
Okay.
No matter what he's responding to before that, I'm going to keep it started at the 95, knowing last time it took that, so there's a higher probability it's going to take that this time. And if that seems like it's a little too high, then I'll start bumping it down from there. But I'm going to make sure my first correction I give next time I see another dog is motivating enough so I don't have to play this game of chasing them up.
Yep.
Because here's the thing. There's a concept we used to talk about called capping versus chasing, right? Basically what that is if you look at your dog's brain and their arousal level as numbers, right? Say your dog's arousal level has 100 levels, right?
Yeah.
And your e-collar has 100 levels. And let's say your dog's brain is at a 45, right? And you correct him at a 35. What's going to happen is that's not going to be enough to bring that arousal level down. If anything, it's going to nag them, piss them off a little bit, and push them up a little bit. Right? Then you're going to need an even higher level next time. Then you're going to even need a little higher level next time. So what I prefer to do is if I see that my dog's brain is at a 35, I'm going to cap it with a 50, knowing that that's more motivating than his arousal level is currently, and it's going to start to push that down a little bit. Right? So a lot of people that talk about how the e-collar makes the dog worse or pushes back on it or whatever it may be, it's not true. A lot of times people are just giving naggy, annoying corrections to these dogs, and it's just pissing them off.
Yeah.
Which is causing them to be more reactive in that moment,
Yeah.
as opposed to, again, just squashing it and nipping it in the butt. So, and again, this is all under the assumption that we're past the training process, right? This is all under the assumption that the dog knows all of this stuff. We've spent our time teaching it, again, in a fair fashion if we can. We've used motivation and stuff like that. And now the dog is actively making choices to not listen. That's when we start moving into these stages with things. We're approaching the old 4th of July. The old America Day.
Star-spangled
canines. Here we are, 4th of July. Fun time of year. Everybody's out barbecuing, grilling out, having fun.
Blowing stuff up.
Blowing shit up. But here's what happens when you blow shit up. You scare some dogs, typically. So what we're going to do, we're going to try to give you guys some pointers as far as how to scare your dog a little less. Josh, how do you like 4th of July?
I love 4th of July.
Doing anything for 4th of July this year?
I think we're going to go see the Akron fireworks. That's about it.
I haven't went and watched fireworks, and it's been a minute.
Really?
It's been a minute.
I love me some fireworks.
I do as well. Looking forward to them this year. So, what we're going to do first here is we're going to read a post that I made forever. I probably made this post in 2017 or 2018.
Oh, throwback.
Right, and we're going to read it. I haven't read this in a long time. I actually just pulled it up. And we're going to see how much of it is still accurate, or if I agree with all of it, or if some of it needs fact-checked.
All right.
We'll see. All right, so fireworks. Some quick tips as we're moving into firework hours of the good old 4th of July. Remember, loud noises are scary as shit to dogs. A whole bunch of that is going to be starting here soon. These are a few tips to keep your dog safe, whether your dog is nervous or not. Don't act like the cool guy who has to show off his dog that doesn't care about anything.
Yeah.
It's a big point there. Number 1, and probably the most important one, just keep the dog inside. There is absolutely no reason to take the chance of your dog getting spooked, running away, and getting hit by a car or something else. The number 1 day that dogs get loose, or are injured is today, 4th of July, next Sunday.
Yeah.
It's not today. Don't take the chance. If you need to take your dog out to go to the bathroom, do it on a leash attached to a collar they can't slip out of. Again, if they are leashed up, they can't run away. Now, this is a good one because and for God's sake, do not take your dog to the fireworks parties. If you're already there, take them inside.
Yep.
Give them some relief. Mm-hmm. I love reading this stuff dramatically.
Especially then, you were rough gunning right here.
I was.
Yelling at people. Don't do it.
Well, here's the thing, right? I think everybody has been out on 4th of July and seen people with dogs out.
Yep.
Like pretty much every year, our thing was we would always go to Menor Headlands Beach, right? And we would see dogs there every single year. It's just, it's kind of baffling that people would do that. One, because first off, and this is going to be a whole nother conversation we'll get into one of these other podcasts, is the idea that like when you go to these really large events, that is so overstimulating for dogs in general, no matter how good the dog is. And when you go to those places, you're going to those places for you, not for the dog. So why does your dog need to get dragged along and be stuck out in the heat, smothered by a million different people, not getting the one-on-one individual attention that they need, needing to fend for themselves as far as all the scary things going on around them? It's just stupid, right?
Yeah.
Like, your dog doesn't need to go to all these different events unless you're going for a very short period of time and you're going with the purpose of training your dog in a new environment. It's the only time it's even acceptable, and a lot of these environments are still not even appropriate for that, you know? But everybody sees these dogs out, and guess what happens is dogs run away all the time because people are oblivious to their dog's issues, right? And even stuff as simple as maybe you just adopted the dog and you haven't experienced 4th of July with them, and you're oblivious to the fact that your dog might be scared of those things. Maybe today's the day that suddenly they get spooked by something because maybe they've heard fireworks before, but they've never been in that close of contact with them. Maybe some fucking idiot 20 feet away from you decides to blow off a firework and it's even more close and it scares the shit out of your dog. You know what I mean? Like there's so many different things that could happen that can create problems with stuff like that. Number one thing is on 4th of July, just don't take your dog anywhere. Just literally keep them inside. Let them go to the bathroom before it gets dark out, and then wait until after the fireworks are over before you take them out again. And then the big one, keep your dog, if you're going to take them out on leash, keep them on leash and make sure it's attached to a collar they can't slip out of. And this is a tip for everybody here right now, whether we're worried about fireworks or not. If your dog is attached to a flat collar and that flat collar can easily slip over the dog's head, that is borderline on like it's doing nothing, right? Like any dog can just zoop back up, it's gone. Right? So buy a collar your dog can't slip out of. A slip collar will be fine. A slip leash would be fine. Or a martingale style collar will be fine. Also, most of these public service announcement, most of these collars you're going to buy from the pet store. I'm talking to the camera right now. Most of these collars you'll buy from the pet store that have the stupid little plastic buckle on it that look cute and have donuts on it and stuff. Do you know how many of those I've seen those plastic buckles break on?
Just
9 gazillion of them. They just snap and then suddenly, boom, dog is free. Get yourself a high-quality collar to attach your leash to. And listen, I hate harnesses, but if you're going to use a harness, fit it up properly. Make sure it's snug so that, again, the dog cannot just slip out of that thing, because I've seen that happen 8 gazillion times. All right, moving on. 2. If your dog is notoriously spooked by thunderstorms and other loud noises, expect the next few hours to be pretty rough. One of the best things we could do for our dogs that are scared of loud noises is to block their ability to rehearse the things they typically do when they start to panic. This includes hiding under things, pacing around, or barking and reacting to the noises. If your dog notoriously hides in different spots, don't let them do it and get themselves worked up. Attach a leash to them before the fireworks start and keep them close. Try your hardest not to pet or console them when they are nervous, as you may be unintentionally reinforcing those anxious states of mind. Just keep them close and focus on staying in one place. Same goes for pacing. Lots of dogs will compulsively circle or move from room to room. Interrupt this behavior using the leash or minor corrections with an e-collar or other tool you may use for unwanted behaviors. Remember, the idea is to interrupt the cycle before the dog has the ability to escalate from 0 to 100 and keep things at a more moderate level. If your dog barks and reacts to loud noises, treat it the same way, correcting for the reaction and putting their focus on something else. Okay, this is a big one. So this is now getting into actually working through firework anxiety or noise phobias to begin with, because we see a lot of dogs that it could be a truck backing up and beeping. We see a lot of dogs where it could be fireworks, thunderstorms, other miscellaneous noises going on. And the problem is most dogs, when they're in those kind of freaking out states of mind, it escalates from 0 to 100 really quickly, right? So boom, they get scared by something. And the issue, like we've talked about 9 gazillion times, is not that the dog gets scared, it's the dog's response to their fear, right?
Yeah.
So dog gets startled, right? I've never minded an initial startle response to something. If suddenly the dog is, whoa, my God, something just happened, right? And lets out a little, whoa, right? And then they calm back down, that's fine, right? The problem is they go, woof, and then they're startled. And then it's like, right?
Yeah.
Or then it's taken off like a rocket trying to run away from something, or then it's destructive behaviors or this or that. That is where it starts to become more of a controllable response from the dog. You're not going to change their startle response to things, right? The startle response is always going to be there, but what they do post that can be controlled, right? Assuming a firework isn't going off literally 3 feet away from your dog, if it's happening outside of your house, inside of the confines of your house, it is, in my opinion, expected that the dog should be able to maintain control. So here's the thing. If you're going to be home and you want to work on these things with your dog, here's what you're going to need to do, right? You're going to need to pick whatever your dog's best command is, right? First off, make sure they're geared up. They got their e-collar on, they got a leash on, whatever, right? Because a lot of this that I wrote was intended for people that don't necessarily have that high of a level of control over their dog, which is why I talked a lot about using the leash, blocking some of those patterns, so at least they can't cycle into this state of mind of like, I go from freaking out to running and hiding to then just like panicking and barking and stuff and cycling, right?
Yeah.
A lot of that was written with the intention of helping the general public to be able to work through some of these types of issues. But if you have a higher level of training on your dog, if we've worked with your dog before, pick your dog's best command. A lot of those are going to be a bed command or a come command, right? One or the other, right?
Yeah.
First and foremost, while the fireworks are going on, I want you to not pet or talk to your dog unless you are giving a clear command, right? That ensures you're not reinforcing the behavior at all like I talked about in this, right? Next, what you're going to do is you're going to preemptively, proactively put your dog into a command before the fireworks start. I like a bed command for this. Again, I think it's a little bit easier, but a come command would be fine, and the expectation of that is just that the dog stays right next to you. Give your command one time. Have your e-collar set high, because again, this is where you start getting into. It doesn't matter if the dog is really scared or really excited or anywhere in between. Impulse control issues are impulse control issues. And something like this is going to be a very extreme impulse control issue that you're going to want to be able to work through with your dog. Put your dog into command. Give that bed command. Be prepared for the next 2 hours to enforce that command. Nice 2-hour-long bed stay. If your dog gets up out of it, you have to give a correction the dog is more motivated by than they are scared of those fireworks or aroused by those fireworks or whatever it may be. You need to get them to refocus back in on this. This is something we do every single day with other issues that are just as arousing to dogs as fireworks are to some dogs. It can absolutely be stopped if you are diligent and you remove that emotional aspect of, oh, he's scared, I don't want to make him do this. But the problem is that state of mind that he cycles himself into when he gets in full-on panic is just as unhealthy of a state of mind, right? And if you could start to get them to take 50% of their brain and focus in on whatever it is that you're asking them to do, that's going to leave only 50% of their brain left to worry about all the fireworks and all the noise going on outside, so that they could start to kind of decompress a little bit and they could start to at least sit there and maybe still be stressed as shit, but understand, okay, nothing's happening. I'm not freaking out. I'm focusing and nothing's happening. And then through repeated doing of that, just like we talked about with Betty with the muzzle and all that kind of stuff, we see them incrementally get better. And listen, here's the thing. Yes, I would love to desensitize. Let's get back to the desensitization. I would love to counter condition fireworks, but guess what? The noises on your phone and the sounds you're going to play on your fucking speaker and stuff like that, they don't do anything. They don't simulate that same sound wave or what is it, barometric pressure and stuff that a real firework does. It's not realistic, just like thunderstorms and stuff.
Yep.
It's not the same.
No.
Right? So when you look at something that only happens a couple times a year, your options are just let your dog be a fucking mess, right? Or actually help them through it as their leader.
Yep.
I will always choose the latter. I think that is the way to go. And guess what? 4th of July last year, I went and I closed the shop last year. We had 35 dogs, 40 dogs, something like that up there. Ran every single one of them outside while fireworks were going on leash. And guess what? None of them did. Freak the fuck out at fireworks. And I would listen, I don't know because I didn't talk to all their owners about it, but I would guess that some of those dogs had some degree of firework anxiety, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't allow them to cycle into an anxious state of mind because of that.
Yeah.
So they were able to be okay, and it wasn't a problem. We had a calm kennel because of it. And listen, we are located in Firework fucking Central, where the facility is.
Yeah.
There's fireworks, there's people shooting guns, there's all sorts of stuff going on. It's wild.
Yeah.
And it was fine, right? So that's a lot of the key of this. You got to keep their dog's brain stimulated.
50% is 100% better.
Hell yeah. All right, thing number 3. If your dog isn't overly stressed out with fireworks, treat the loud noises as a fantastic distraction to proof training. Use rewards and the leash to put your dog through the motions of training and keep their attention on you. Even if they are not visibly panicked, it can help to make sure we're keeping their brain active and their attention on something else. It's pretty basic, guys. Just keep things safe. Keep the dogs inside, and don't allow the dog to cycle into a state of panic. Hang tight. It'll be over soon. Last part is kind of just a little fluff add in there. You know, got to let them know. If they're not too distracted, here's the thing. If they are too stimulated, you can still work on it.
Yeah.
I think that's the key, and that is the key fact check of that post that I made, is we have seen a lot of dogs with different anxieties like this that we've been able to work through. It's doable. Everybody can do it if you have a high level of training on your dog. So
I think that stood the test of time.
Stood the test of time. I'm sure I'll post it again here in a couple days for everybody.
I was going to say you should.
But that's the key with a lot of this kind of stuff, is you gotta be able to look at this stuff strategically as far as how do we go about stopping some of these things.
Yep.
So what do you think, Josh?
I think that was a wonderful thing. There have been so many times, as you said, in my life that I've just seen people bring the dogs to the barbecue as we're about to see some fireworks. My family was a big thing of that. We did fireworks with my uncles all the time, and he would just have his dog running around in the yard, freaking the fuck out. And you're like, this dog's going to kill itself, literally.
Yeah.
Just like, how stressful, you know?
It's a lot.
And like you said, you're just setting yourself up for success, just by putting the dog in the house.
Keep him inside.
Yeah.
You know? Because then at least, like I said, you turn it from a really, really scary thing into a moderate distraction. Because inside the house, honestly, at that point, unless you're living in an area where they're happening a block away from you, you know, it's not going to be that ridiculously loud.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to be that crazy. It's not going to be any different than a big party or commotion happening down the street from you. It's a realistic distraction to work your dog through at that point.
Yep, exactly.
So
set yourself up for success.
Set yourself up for success. All right, great. So moving to the next thing. We're going to get back into our book here. So last time we started reading The Art of Raising a Puppy by the Monks of Newskeet. We got through one chapter, and I want to start burning through a chapter a freaking podcast on this thing, because this thing is good. So we skipped a lot of the initial talking about raising the puppies to being adopted. We talked about last week the chapter of bringing the new dog into the house. Next, we're going to get into chapter 11 here, which is house training and preliminary obedience exercises. Now, the reason why I'm going through all of this is because we get tons and tons and tons of questions about puppies. We see a lot of behavioral issues that if you do a lot of this stuff properly, you won't have a lot of issues. And housebreaking in particular is one of those ones we get asked about all the time. I mean, I've had people reach out to me that are like, can I just send my dog to a 5-week board and train to housebreak them? which, listen, I would love to take that $4,000 from you, but it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Because housebreaking comes solely down to your commitment in creating a nice potty schedule for your dog. It comes up with your commitment to making sure the dog doesn't have unsupervised time in the house to be able to rehearse sneaking off and go to the bathroom, because 99% of accidents that we see happen when dogs sneak off in the house and go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So this chapter is going to get into the starts of housebreaking your puppies so that you guys can do it correctly, because I've seen people that have had puppies that have literally housebreak them in like 4 weeks, and I've seen people struggle with it through 2-3 years old.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to be cleaning up pee and poop all over your house every single day, potty train your dog the correct way, and let's see if the monks of New Skeet can teach us how to do so.
I feel like they're going to have a wonderful take on this. Let's be honest.
Let's see.
I loved last chapter. Last chapter was
chapter.
so good.
All right. My throat's nice and hydrated.
Hydration.
All right. During the first days, your most pressing task is to see that your puppy acquires proper elimination habits. Nothing is so tiresome as a dog who has not learned to use his designated area for elimination. In fact, statistics show that more puppies are abandoned every year because of house training problems than for any other reason. You should harbor no illusions about this. Starting off house training correctly is one of the pillars of a healthy relationship with your pup, and it is your responsibility to follow sensible guidelines to establish good habits. Fortunately, there are natural instincts in dogs that, when combined with understanding and consistency on your part, make house training a relatively straightforward process. Dogs who are raised properly as young puppies have an innate tendency to keep their den areas clean. As we have seen, pups instinctively move away from the nest to eliminate. In doing this, they naturally create scent posts or places where they will consistently eliminate. Whenever dogs urinate or defecate, scent chemicals called pheromones are also passed with the waste. When pups smell these on subsequent occasions, it triggers an eliminative reflex that disposes them to repeat the process. Besides being a necessary bodily function, this activity also develops into a form of social communication with other dogs. A pup defines her territory by leaving these scent marks for herself and other canines to sniff out. When your puppy smells her own mark, she repeats the marking and makes a habit of using the same area for elimination. Understanding this allows us to devise a preventative, humane, and effective approach to house training, outlined below, that avoids the common mistakes new owners make and is in harmony with a pup's natural instincts. Successful house training depends on several things: sound behavioral principles, a balanced, nutritious diet that produces firm stools, and faithful attention paid by you. The following guidelines will provide you with an integrated program to house train an 8 to 10 week old puppy in 1 to 3 weeks and help you prepare for the time when your dog can be trusted alone in your house. Step number 1.
Ooh.
Using a crate. Let's first talk for a second about how many people do not want to use a crate and how ridiculous it is.
Too many.
The best thing you could do for a dog is get them a crate. Because guess what? For a young dog, unsupervised time is time for them to get into trouble. And there is inevitably in your day-to-day going to be times when you cannot supervise your dog. And if your dog is crate trained, you can ensure that the dog is never unsupervised by sticking them in the crate.
Yep. Bender was in a crate for months.
That's it. We are decidedly in favor of crate training puppies, though many of our clients are initially horrified at the prospect of using such a barbaric medieval device to stuff puppies into. Once they come to understand a crate from a dog's perspective, their attitude changes. All canines are den animals. They naturally seek out spots for rest that are sheltered and secure. This is why family dogs often lie under dining room tables, beneath beds, or in dark closets. They are simply following a deep-seated den instinct. By using a crate, you provide your pup with her own den and capitalize on her innate tendency to keep this area clean. This is why house training with a crate is so sensible. A puppy kept in her den for a reasonable length of time will refrain from soiling and will learn to hold herself until you let her out. Consistently doing this helps your pup quickly acquire a regular schedule for elimination. Crates come in different sizes. We prefer using airline shipping crates because they are safe and form a den-like atmosphere that is more naturally calming to puppies, with a tendency towards separation anxiety. Open wire crates, while convenient because they can fold up, are less den-like, and pups might catch a dew claw in the wire. In terms of size, use a crate that has enough room for your pup to stand up and turn around. Anything larger than that invites problems. To a puppy, a large crate is like having a master bedroom with a bathroom. She could easily sleep in one end and piddle in the other. However, if you have a pup who is going to grow quickly, you'll soon need a larger version. Spending money on several different crates during puppyhood can be costly. So what do? The solution is to purchase a crate divider at your local pet store so that you can temporarily reduce the size of the crate until you need the extra space. There are other benefits to crating. A crate prevents a young dog from getting into mischief when you cannot watch her and confines her to chewing to objects you have provided. Also, it is ideal for transporting your puppy by car, keeping her safe from sudden stops and swerves, as well as providing safe keeping whenever you stay at motels. Crates are also convenient when your pup has to stay with a pet sitter, since inevitably there will be occasions you will not be able to be with her. Having a crate simplifies these situations and provides your puppy with a familiar spot where she will always be comfortable. That's another point that everybody misses with crate training, is that there will be times you can't be with the dog.
Yep.
And guess what? If you leave your dog with a friend or a family member, they're not going to want to leave the dog just unattended loose in their house, especially if it's a new place your dog is not used to, where they haven't developed that sense of not going to the bathroom in there.
Yep.
You may need to crate your dog to transport them somewhere. You may need to crate the dog if they're boarded somewhere. There's numerous occasions. But all in all, like it was saying, it stops them from getting into mischief. So introduce the crate.
Yeah. It's beneficial in so many ways to your life.
Big time. All right, step 2, introducing your pup to a crate. As with all things in puppyhood, it is important to work gradually. Go out of your way to make her first experience with a crate a pleasant one. Begin by placing an old blanket over the floor of the crate. Instead, what does it say? Never force a puppy in. Shut the door and leave during the first session. I'll sometimes do that. We talked about this last time. This is kind of the nicing into it kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think at some point, dogs need to learn to just kind of go in. But here's the thing. In fairness, if I have a brand new 8-week-old puppy, I'm going to try to spend, an hour or so just getting them accustomed to getting into it. Now, I may, quote unquote, force them into it the first time with the leash.
Yeah.
But typically what I'll do is I'll let them get in and out a bunch of times until they're smoothly walking into it. Then once they walk into it, I'll close that door behind them. And we do this with new board and trains when we need to crate them pretty much immediately, is I'll teach them to get in and out of it a bunch of times using that leash. Then we'll actually put them in it and close them up.
Yep.
Instead, allow your pup to explore around the object. Then place several pieces of kibble inside as your puppy watches. If she goes into the crate after the food, praise her enthusiastically. If not, try luring her in with a scented object or high-value treat such as a bully stick. If even that fails, gently lift your pup up and place her inside the crate without shutting the door. You could pet the pup if she needs reassurance. Next, call your dog out and praise her when she comes to you. Repeat this for several minutes. Assuming your pup shows no signs of disturbance, try closing the door for a minute. Conclude the session by opening the door and praising her. The next time you feed your pup, do so inside the crate, luring her in with her bowl, then closing the door. When she finishes, your dog may start whining and barking to get out. This should be discouraged by firmly striking the front of the door with your hand and saying no in a deep voice. Old school techniques there.
Yeah, it is.
Listen, it's not wrong. It works. Another one that will work with a lot of dogs, if you take a bowl, if you have a metal crate, and you tap it on the front of the crate a couple of times, that noise is kind of startling to dogs and will typically get them to calm down a little bit. Wait for your pup to be quiet for 5 minutes before opening the door and escorting her out to her soiling area to eliminate. As your puppy becomes more comfortable with the crate, you can increase the time she spends there. You should realize, however, that it is important not to overuse it. Your pup should not live in her crate. She should live with you. Let her spend periods of time there when she cannot be watched, when she is resting, eating, or traveling, and while she is being house-trained, since during this time, staying in the crate will teach her to hold herself. Used this way, a crate is an important aid to your pup's adjustment to her new life. Step number 3, a consistent schedule. This one is the key with it. Dogs are creatures of habit and quickly adapt to scheduled routines. Be a fanatic about your pup's schedule. Starting your puppy off immediately with set times for feeding, watering, and elimination creates a rhythm that lets you predict when she will have to eliminate, thus reducing accidents. First thing every morning, take your pup immediately to her soiling area. Do not let her out by herself, even if your yard is fenced. Taking your pup out ensures that she will consistently use the same spot, that your praise is properly timed. Always use the same door and route. And for the first several months, leave 1 or 2 stools in the soiling area each day for her to smell. Watch her carefully as she sniffs and circles around. As soon as she appears ready to eliminate, softly repeat a simple word or phrase, such as do it, hurry up, or go potty. To coincide with the act, repeat it several times once you begin the command. Do not stop until she actually begins to eliminate. When she does, quietly change from the command word to soft praise until she finishes. The key is to keep your voice calm and quiet. Some owners make the mistake of being overly enthusiastic when the pup is eliminate, which results in the dog interrupting what she's doing and not completely finishing. Also, puppies often have to eliminate several times when they first wake up. So make sure your puppy is completely finished before you return to the house. When you're certain she is done, conclude with a good girl and walk her back. Follow this procedure every time you take your pup out to eliminate, using the key word and praise as conditioning factors. After 50 to 75 occasions of well-timed commands and praise, your pup will have a conditioned reflex to eliminate whenever she hears the trigger word. This is a great aid to house training and avoids long waits at night or in inclement weather. Accurate. Okay, so one key with this, and the other point they didn't get into that much here, is the idea of taking the dog out on the leash. Now, obviously, they said a lot of that has to do with teaching the dog to go in one spot, which is accurate. Now, the secondary and more important reason for this is, yes, the dog will likely go if you let them out off leash. But what happens is you start to blend playtime with potty time. So you start to go out, and the dog runs around and plays and has a good time and picks up 3 sticks, then goes to the bathroom. So what happens is because they're doing multiple things at once, they don't make the correlation very quickly that we are specifically doing this. Yeah. And this is the problem with bell training and stuff, too, that I find is the dog starts learning eventually that just ringing the bell just gets them to go outside and play. Yeah. So they don't actually make the correlation that it means to go specifically to go to the bathroom. And that's the key with this, and that's how they start to develop that consistent routine.
Clear picture is what you need.
Yep. So that I would actually, they called that the schedule. I don't necessarily call that the schedule. I would call that the routine. Right? So that is the routine of how we go out to go to the bathroom, right? We go out the same door. We do it on leash. We go to the same spot. We give our command. We praise the dog. We take the dog back inside, right? That is the routine of going to the bathroom for a young dog. So next we get into feeding schedule. Plan on feeding your young puppy 3 times daily at the same times each day. An ideal schedule is 7 a.m., noon, and 5 p.m. because it ensures that your pup will be empty by the time he goes to sleep and can pass the night without having to go. Keep to this schedule until the pup shifts to 2 meals daily, between 14 and 18 weeks of age. This one is big also. I see people feed their dog 3 meals a day for like 2 years all the time.
Oh my God.
Let's talk real quick about why we feed a dog 3 times a day.
Yeah.
The only reason why we do that is because the dog needs to take in more calories and their stomach is not big enough to hold all the food that they would need to eat, right? Because they're so small at 8 weeks old, right? But literally, like they said right here, 14 to 18 weeks, the dog is big enough to intake all that food. I mean, you're talking, 2 cups a day, right? Your dog can eat a cup of food when they're this big.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Easily.
Right? And if the dog is smaller than that, obviously, like a smaller breed dog, they're needing even less food. So they can intake that. So save yourself the headache and switch to that 2 meals a day significantly faster than you already are.
Yeah. Or you don't want a chunker.
Yeah. Chunker.
A chunker.
When you feed, be certain that your pup receives the correct amount of nutritionally balanced, high-quality puppy food. Avoid generic or bargain brand foods from supermarkets, as well as prepackaged, semi-moist foods that contain high amounts of glucose. These generally lack the proper nutrients necessary for puppies, disrupt their normal growth, and often cause diarrhea. Training manuals frequently underestimate the importance of a good diet in house training. It is of little value to a pup to go through a detailed house training program if he is suffering from either loose stools or constipation connected with poor diet or overfeeding. Take the time to find a top-quality kibble designed for puppies. Ask your veterinarian and breeder about particular brands and amounts to feed, and consult Chapter 18 for more detailed information. Another huge point is that diet is so essential. One, if your dog is not feeling good, they're going to have to go 10 times more than they would if they were. And two, the constipation connected with poor diet and overfeeding. You would not believe how many huge dogs we get come in that will like take a dump in the middle of their session, and it's like 6 pounds worth of feces. It's gross, right? But like there's so much. And a lot of that has to do with how much they're consuming, obviously. And a lot of that has to do with the quality of food it is because they're not absorbing the nutrients. If your dog is on a proper diet and fed the proper amount, there shouldn't be that much coming out.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
You can equate all this stuff to people. I mean,
oh, yeah.
You know how it is after you have a big day of eating the Parky's burgers.
Yeah. Yeah. That McDonald's, how do you feel after that, you know?
Yep. It's hilarious.
Parky's burgers.
As we have mentioned previously, we suggest feeding your pup in his crate. This forms another positive association with the crate and allows him to eat without distraction. It also helps prevent the pup from eliminating immediately on finishing his meal. Give a pup 15 minutes to eat. Offer him some water and then take him to the soiling area. Accurate again, I'm just adding points into this here. 15 minutes is a long time, right? Yeah. If you're finding that your dog is taking 15 minutes to eat or is not even finishing everything in his bowl, that is your first sign that you're overfeeding. When you put that food down, your dog should eat it all very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Right?
I was going to say 5 minutes.
Even that's a long time, though. I mean, my dog's eating 2 minutes, and they're done.
Vinny's 20 seconds.
You know? And, you know, as far as, like, figuring out amounts of food, like we've talked about this before, but, like, just always keep in mind the amount that they say on the bag does not factor in breed of the dog, activity level of the dog, age of the dog, you know, any dietary needs the dog has. It doesn't factor any of that stuff in, and it's a dog food company writing it, so they want to sell more dog food, so they're going to make it higher than it should be.
Yep.
Go off of the dog, not off of the bag. If the dog is not finishing it all, cut it back. If the dog is eating way too much or is eating way too fast and losing weight consistently, up it a little bit. And you got to constantly play that up and down game, but there should never be a time that food's left in the bowl.
No. The bag is the most loose guideline you'll ever find.
All right. Sample house training schedule for a young puppy. 6:30 a.m. Rise. Walk pup briefly. 7 a.m. Feed pup and offer a drink of water. Walk puppy. Return home and play briefly with puppy. Pup stays in crate. Mid-morning. Walk pup. After walk, pup stays with owner 15 minutes. Pup returns to crate. Noon. Feed pup second meal and offer water. 1 p.m. Walk puppy. Return home and play with pup. Pup returns to crate. Mid-afternoon. Offer pup water. Walk puppy. Pup returns to crate. 5 p.m. Feed pup third meal and offer water. Walk puppy. Allow pup to play in kitchen while dinner is being prepared. 7 p.m. Walk pup briefly. Return home and play with puppy. Pup returns to crate. Before bed, walk pup. Puppy sleeps in crate. In your bedroom. Okay. First off, I don't think a lot of people have time for 5 walks a day.
No.
So here's the thing. The key with this, right, with this schedule that I want everybody to realize is there is at 7 a.m., puppy goes in crate. Mid-morning, puppy goes back to crate. 1 o'clock, pup goes back to crate. Mid-afternoon, pup goes back to crate. 5 p.m., puppy is confined to the kitchen. So not crated, but still in very supervised time.
Yep.
7 p.m., puppy goes to crate. Before bed, puppy goes in crate for bed. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times a day that the dog is crated. This is something I tell everybody. I go in 2-hour increments with puppies. So every 2 hours, your dog should spend roughly an hour in the crate. And if you do that, your dog learns 1, proper habits in the house of not going to the bathroom in the house. It gives you time to not have to worry about what the dog is doing. 2, it starts to eliminate separation anxiety issues because the dog is getting used to being away from you. 3, it's getting the dog used to seeing you do things and not being a part of those things, which helps create calmness and a dog that is not codependent. So I like this sample schedule just as a point of reiterating that. After eliminating sessions, it is a good idea to spend some time playing with your pup in the house. Do this either in the gated kitchen area or in some other part of the house as you prefer. Since your pup has just finished eliminating, you can be relaxed without having to worry about accidents. When playtime is over, lead your pup to his crate and let him rest for an hour or two, leaving 1 or 2 toys with him. During the house training period, plan on taking your pup to his soiling area once every hour and a half. Before you go out, always offer him some water. Keeping to his schedule, you will discover that your pup will gradually be able to hold himself for longer periods of time. Establish a sense of confidence. This is another reason why adopting your pup during a vacation period makes sense. Next tip. Accidents do happen. Inevitably, some puppy accidents are bound to occur. No matter how watchful you are, how careful about looking for warning signals, your pup will probably have several episodes of house soiling during her first few weeks with her. Mm-hmm. When these happen, it is of the utmost importance to deal with them correctly in a manner appropriate to your pup's age. One of the most frequent mistakes new owners make is the tendency to overcorrect for house soiling errors that have already occurred. Puppies live entirely in the present. They do not remember acts of house soiling, and punishments given after the fact only confuse the pup and harm your relationship. That is why it is important to have your dog either with you or safely confined and not to allow her to wander around the house unmonitored. Punishments based on poorly thought out folk remedies, such as rubbing a pup's nose in her mess. Beating her belatedly at the side of the elimination and then isolating her or letting her lie in her own mess when she has soiled her crate are absolutely inappropriate ways of dealing with the problem. These punishments give the pup the wrong message and ultimately produce a pup who is terrified of you. You are responsible for monitoring your puppy in a way that tilts her chances towards success. Make sure that you always allow her to eliminate regularly. That said, some pups will still eliminate unpredictably. For a correction to be meaningful, you must catch your pup in the act. If you see her starting to eliminate in the house, quickly raise your voice enough to startle her. Use no. And sweep her up in your arms and take her immediately outside to the soiling area. Wait for her to eliminate, following the method we have already described under a consistent schedule. Most pups will stop what they are doing as soon as they are startled. If your pup requires more than just your voice, throw a set of keys near her or rattle a shaker can, an old soda can with pennies in it. It's an old correction. The idea is that noise startling next to her, again, can kind of shake them out of whatever it is they're doing. The pennies in the can is a common tool people used to use. We don't really see it that much anymore because I think there's more effective tools at this point. But the idea is you have to give some sort of consequence when you catch it.
Yep.
When they are not confined, young pups have to be watched constantly. Learn to look for telltale signs that your puppy needs to go out. These include restless pacing, intense sniffing of the floor, whining, and scratching at the door that leads to the soiling area. If you should come upon an accident that has already occurred, count it as your mistake. Take your pup up to her den so she does not see you cleaning up the mess. You do not want her to think that you have her or that she has you as a maid. From the discussion of scent posts in Chapter 5, you should understand why cleaning up accidents thoroughly is so vital to the success of house training. With scent capacities estimated conservatively at 100 times greater than those of human beings, dogs can easily detect lingering odors of feces and urine in areas that have been already cleaned with conventional products such as detergent or ammonia. The result can be a distressing pattern of repeated accidents in the same spot. To prevent your pup from making scent posts of locations in your house, neutralize odors with a dog deodorizer or cleaner that breaks them down chemically. Whether the mess is on carpet, vinyl tile, linoleum, or wood, after you have thoroughly cleaned up, spray the spot with a dog deodorizer and cover the area with an overturned chair until it is completely dry. Last step, the city puppy. For a new puppy owner living in the city, house training presents specific difficulties that require different techniques from those used in suburban or rural environments. While it is always preferable to house train a pup in a safe outdoor location, usually a spot in your yard, in urban environments, this is either possible nor advisable. Aside from the difficulties of getting the pup outside quickly from the 14th floor of an apartment building, city puppies are particularly vulnerable to diseases such as parvo and canine distemper, which are communicated through urine, feces, and vomit. City veterinarians are rightly insistent that clients not walk their puppies on the street until they have received their full series of immunization vaccinations at 16 weeks of age. In these circumstances, paper training is the only real alternative. Begin by placing several layers of newspaper over the entire confined area. If possible, over a large plastic sheet to prevent urine from seeping through onto the floor. Make sure the confined area has easy-to-clean surfaces such as linoleum or ceramic tile. Never use an absorbent surface such as carpet. We advise keeping the crate available for the pup's use in this area, since it gives her a secure spot of her own. Instead of taking the pup outside to her soiling area after feeding and watering, you should simply wait for the pup to eliminate, praise her, and change the papers. When you first put out a fresh batch, leave a soiled paper underneath in the area where you wish the pup to relieve herself. The scent will draw her to the spot, helping her to eliminate exclusively in that location. Leave a little bit more by the floor for the papers unprotected after each change, until you have an area with only 4 sheets of newspaper. In a few days, the pup should be conditioned to seek out the spot to relieve herself. Keep in mind, however, that once your pup is fully immunized, at 16 weeks, you will want to shift her soiling habits to an outside location. This is usually done by strictly confining a pup to her crate as described in the original schedule. When the time for elimination arrives, whisk her outside and wait for her to soil outdoors. Praise her effusively if she succeeds. If she does not relieve herself in a reasonable period of time, take her back to her crate, wait 5 minutes, then take her back out. Patience is important here. For a pup who has difficulty making the transition, try bringing one of her soiled papers outside until she gets the point. Personally, with people in apartment buildings, what I recommend is not doing it indoors. But if you really are in a situation where you're so far away from everything that you don't have another option, if you have a balcony, do like a pad or a piece of grass on the balcony. That way you're not making the correlation of going in the house. Because they were saying when you go to reverse that later on, that's really hard to reverse the concept of teaching the dog to go in the house.
Yeah.
You know, like I've seen it before with a lot of people. And then some people just get stuck on it forever. And the dog is never 100% solid with it. And they learn as they get older. They can go off and do whatever they want because I think it gives owners an excuse of the dog will just know where to go. So I don't ever have to worry about taking them outside kind of thing, you know? And then, like I said, later on, 4 years down the road, 5 years down the road, you got a big problem with the dog marking all over the place and having accidents and stuff. So if you're going to do it that way, like I said, I recommend doing it in the balcony so they make the correlation of going out a door to somewhere. But in my opinion, like if you're in the city and you get a dog, like you need to accept the responsibilities if you're going to need to like spend extra time taking the dog outside to go to the bathroom. So
yeah, I mean, is that what the Gidleys do? Don't they have like a balcony?
Yeah, they got a grassed balcony.
Yeah. I mean,
it works. I mean, again, same. I would prefer to just like take the dogs outside. Yeah. The only reason why they're able to do that is because they have 2 balconies, kind of. So one of them is like for the dogs, and one of them is not for the dogs.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's not ideal, but it's still they're not going inside technically. You know,
100%. Hydration. Sorry. All right, gang. We're gonna wrap that up on that.
Yeah.
So we got through all the potty training side of things. Just wanted to talk about that. Next, we're going to get into, obviously, teaching foundational obedience commands. Keep it nice and simple.
Yeah. I really like this book.
Actually, you know what? We got 3 more pages. We're going to finish it.
Yeah, finish.
Screw it. We got to finish the chapter. All right. We're moving on here. All right. Hydrated. All right. Next, past potty training. We want to finish this chapter out here. Leash training and preliminary obedience work. Now, this I'm curious to see what they say about a lot of this kind of stuff because training, obviously, a little bit different, obviously, with this kind of stuff. This is a very old book, so the methods are going to be a little different. So, puppies are rarely accustomed to a collar and leash when they first arrive home. Though it is important to begin using them right away, if you do this too abruptly and without adequate preparation, the puppy's first reactions will probably be fearful and belligerent. She will balk and fight all your efforts to get her to walk with you. A more sensible approach is to make the introduction gradually over the course of several days, building up the pup's self-confidence as she learns to accept the leash. This way, the leash becomes a means of bonding, of communicating with your pup, and not an instrument of compulsion. Begin by having your puppy wear her flat buckle collar around the house for a day or 2. Do not be concerned if she initially scratches at the collar or shakes her head. Though a collar might be uncomfortable at first, your puppy will quickly forget she is wearing one. Introducing the leash follows naturally. Let your pup begin dragging the lead around the house, getting her used to the feel of minor pressure on her neck. As she walks around, follow her, then gently pick up the lead and walk with her, keeping the leash held high and speaking in a friendly, encouraging manner. You could follow a similar routine in your backyard. Start by following your pup around the yard without a leash, praising her as she investigates. After a short while, reverse the roles, getting your pup's attention by clapping her hands and enticing her in a cheerful, encouraging tones. Praise her enthusiastically when she follows. Next, try the same sequence with the lead attached. If the pup should balk and start to play tug of war, crouch down with your arms wide and call your pup in a pleasant tone. That is, say her name and the word come. Do not force the puppy towards you, as if you were reeling in a fish, since this will only cause more fight and resistance. Simply clap your hands and encourage your pup to come. Most dogs will return immediately. This is excellent foundational work for the come command discussed later. This exercise can be easily adapted for several family members through circle work. Begin by having the participants sit in a large circle or triangle, about 5 feet apart from one another. Attach a light nylon line to your puppy, and then toss the end of the line to one of the handlers. Have that person call the puppy, praising the dog enthusiastically as she comes, and gently easing her into a sit. The end of the line is then tossed to the next handler. The exercise continues around the circle for 5 to 10 minutes. Retractable leashes are now widely available and can be a very effective tool for preliminary leash training and teaching the come command. They allow the pup to get used to the leash and an occasional tug without feeling the constant pressure of the lead on the neck. This eliminates virtually all rebellion, since you could immediately release the tension of the leash after a mild tug. The result is a puppy who quickly learns to walk with the leash in a relaxed, unthreatened manner and to come willingly from a distance of up to 25 feet. However, we also need to point out a number of caveats about flexi leads to ensure they are utilized safely. While flexi leads are often effective tools, when used with understanding, they can be dangerous when used incorrectly. Here are some important considerations. The flexi lead needs to be held tightly. If the pup starts moving away from you, quickly tap the brake several times to interrupt the dog's bolting and redirect her attention towards you. Otherwise, the pup might build up so much speed that when she hits the end of the cord, the handle will be yanked from your hand. In this scenario, the plastic handle flies across the ground towards the pup as the lead is recoiling, potentially frightening and even injuring her. For this reason, children should never be allowed to use these devices. Never grasp the flexi lead by the cord. This can result in very serious skin burn. When your pup is walking well with the flexi lead, you could then transition to the regular leather or nylon leash. My opinion, just don't use it.
Yeah.
Just use a regular leash, right? Get them used to it. Get past the fight early on. You'll be good to go. Those techniques with introducing the come command will help get the dog used to feeling that pressure, though. You can do those, obviously.
Yeah. I was going to say, ugh.
After about a week. Now, here's the thing, right? There are some arguments that, like, they can be used effectively. Like, there's a really great Michael Ellis DVD on teaching the recall where he talks about using it to condition in your e-collar. And it's easier than a long line, right?
Yeah.
The problem is they have such a bad stigma, and they're used so incorrectly a lot of the time that I don't even like giving them to the owner out of fear of them, like, starting to implement them in those improper ways.
Yeah.
After about a week, your puppy should be walking nicely with you on the lead. You can now try this effective exercise for bonding while you are in the house. Simply keep your pup with you on leash as you move through your day, preferably after he is eliminated. Hold the leash in your left hand and have him follow you around. When you need to be in a fixed position for a time, either sit on the leash or put your foot over it on the floor to hold the pup in place. You could even clip the lead to your belt loop. However, you must not let that be an excuse for not keeping your attention on him at all times. Simply because the pup is tethered to you does not mean that you don't have to watch him. This holds true regardless of whether you're carrying the leash or attaching it to you. If you ensure that the pup is eliminated before beginning this exercise, you will be able to go about your business for an hour or so without having to worry about taking him out. As the puppy accompanies you all around the house, he learns to stay with you and to focus attention primarily on you. This exercise is great for doing housework and will naturally develop a pup who will choose to be with you in a calm, collected manner while also laying the groundwork for polite leash walking described later. An observation. At this early stage, do not look for the disciplined precision of a formal heel. Your goal is simply to get the pup comfortable with the leash, walking with you without protest. For this informal walking, instead of using the command heel, use the phrase, let's go. Your pup should walk with you without pulling, though not necessarily at heel. Be animated and encouraging. If he starts to pull in front of you, gently reverse your direction and say the puppy's name, and let's go in a happy tone, clapping the side of your leg. Everything should be geared towards conditioning your pup to remain close to you. Right from the start, in addition to introducing your puppy to coming when called and to preliminary leash work, you could also begin teaching the sit and down commands. We will outline simple, non-coercive techniques that will familiarize her with these positions without the use of force. At this early stage, it is always wiser to refrain from compulsion techniques. We are concerned with only a gentle, positive introduction to these exercises. So basically what they're saying is we're trying to teach some muscle memory without looking for the reliability that you're going to get through formal training later.
Yep.
Again, this is preliminary obedience exercises, but this is not quote-unquote training yet. This is just muscle memory shaping and getting the dog used to essentially doing things you want them to do. Mm-hmm. The easiest way to teach the concept of sit is to link the command with one of her most pleasurable activities, eating. Since you will be feeding your pup 3 times a day, you could simply begin associating the 2 activities. As your pup waits for her food, lift the dish above her head. When she looks up, say sit. If she jumps, stand up straight with the dish held away from you. It may take a second, but her rear will naturally go down into the sit position. As soon as this happens, put the food down and praise her gently. With regular practice, your pup will learn the quicker she sits, the quicker she gets her meal. Not only is she learning how to sit, but she is also discovering that you are the one who is in control and she must pay attention to you. You're reinforcing your role as leader. A variation on this exercise can apply to non-meal times. Get your pup's attention by snapping your fingers above her head or by using a ball as an object of attraction. When she looks up towards your hand, wave it slightly over her head. By following the movement of your hand, your pup will naturally shift into the sit position. As she does this, say sit, following immediately with lots of praise. If after several attempts, your pup is still standing and simply looking at your hand, repeat the exercise, tapping her rear lightly with your free hand. Follow up with praise. With these techniques, most pups will become conditioned to sitting. For teaching the concept of down, you could use another non-coercive method. With a pup in a sitting position, gently get her attention by showing her a ball or toy. As she focuses on it, dramatically bring it down to the ground about 6 inches in front of her feet, saying down at the same time. As your pup follows the object to the floor, praise her gently. You may have to pat the ground several times to get her all the way down. Do not be concerned with making her stay down at this time. This is simply a preliminary exercise. If your pup does not follow the object to the floor, simply put a small amount of pressure on her shoulders as you give the command. Once she is down, immediately release her with plenty of praise. This will gradually teach her to be comfortable with the position. Remember, a house is only as good as its foundation. Taking the time to start off right with your pup is in everybody's best interest. It sets the stage for teaching your puppy the basic elements of obedience and companionship in the weeks and months ahead.
So true.
All right. It's chapter 11 down. Mm-hmm. Good stuff. So again, introduction stuff. I really like the breakdown of all of this in this book, which is why we're going over all of it. I really like the attention to detail that it puts on just... We're prepping the dog for success. Again, training is going to be needed later, formal training, all that kind of stuff. But all these little things you could be doing with your dog, prep the dog so well for this stuff later on. So try to follow these things as best you can.
Yeah. Makes everything so much easier in the end run.
So much easier. What do you think?
Like I was saying before we finished that chapter, I love this book so far. The last 2 chapters have just been like pretty much in agreement of everything they've been saying. And I like how they word it too. It's like I said, it's very stern, but it's still like it's not scolding you. It's like a nice, gentle guide.
These are firm boundaries.
Yes.
Firm, necessary boundaries. Mm-hmm. So it's good. We'll keep getting into that. We'll keep doing a chapter a week as we go through these kind of puppy stages of things, get you guys the information you're looking for, and see if we can throw our tidbits of info in there along with the other things. So we covered questions, we covered fireworks, we covered puppies. A lot of random stuff today. We are the Random Podcast. Aside from that, have a great 4th of July, everybody.
Yeah.
Doobie, any last notes?
No, I loved it.
I love it. I love it.
All the clips from the podcast will be on the Miracle Canine Training YouTube page by the end of this week. I'm guessing probably at the end of this week we'll just shut the other one down.
Yeah,
so
we'll close it.
Yeah, so just make sure that you go subscribe to the Miracle Canine Training page, because not only we're going to have the podcast there, we're also going to have a bunch of content coming up.
Tons of stuff.
Yep. There's going to be a lot of things going on there. So
It's going to be the place to be. It's where the party's at.
That's where the party's at.
Good stuff. Dewey,
Yeah.
where are they going to find you?
They're going to find me at Josh Dobay Productions, Instagram, joshdobeyproductions.com.
Catch us at Miracle Canine Training on everywhere and David the Dog Trainer on Instagram. We'll see you next week.
Peace.